Nuaki, tell me a little bit of like, a person who he kind of knows he's overweight, but not necessarily yet a lot. And personally, I think I fall into this category. But then again, you as a professional might be thinking different. And that's kind of what my question is all about now. Do you understand? Let's just say I am 20 pounds overweight. And yes, my shirt starts here and there a little bit bloating and etc. But I still ski, I do things, I don't have any joint problems and whatever it may be. But, if I know I could be slimmer, would even look better. I know all that. And we're talking about 20 pounds. How dangerous is this? Give us an honest thing of like, when does it start to become dangerous? Maybe it has to do with the amount of years, like 20 pounds overweight for 40 years or 20 pounds overweight for 5 years, blah, blah, blah. Tell us a little bit, because people like me are very easy to dismiss and say, well, I'm not obese. Okay, I'm a little overweight, so what, big deal?
Yeah, in medical terms, we go by something called the body mass index, so it's very objective. But just in terms of weight, you can be any weight and be unhealthy, right? You can be underweight and be unhealthy. And there's some people who are overweight and are healthy. They're called the healthy overweight people. They are there. So I think the important point is your overall health. Just objectively, I'm 20 pounds above the ideal body weight does not necessarily mean that you have any health problems. So I do not want weight to be the measure of health. However, if you have any health problems like high blood pressure or borderline diabetes or abnormal liver tests or abnormal kidney tests, and you have extra weight, that weight is hurting you. So the thing is, being ideal weight is almost always better than being overweight. However, it doesn't mean that the fact that you're overweight makes you sick. It doesn't. There's some heavy people who are otherwise healthy.
All right. So it's a little bit like with smoking and drinking. My grandfather, he died at 95, I think, 4, something like that. And he was milking a cow. And I remember much before he was 90 and something, when I was like 14, I one time asked my father, I said, is Grandpa drunk today? And my father looked at me and he kind of rolled his eyes and he says, no, Grandpa is sober today. So he didn't get anything to drink, but Grandpa was a functional drunk. Very functional apparently, because he had no problem working his farm. And he smoked like a sloth. And as I said, died working at 94. I mean, what more can you want, really? So your point well taken. And with the weight also. So when people have a problem, they should start looking in the direction of, all right, am I overweight? And even though I'm not obese and I'm not fat and blah, 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 and even though I have no more belly than everyone else, I look at my age, okay, I am overweight, I have certain symptoms which I don't like. Weight is one of the things he should look at, period.
That's correct. And it's very important. There's so many people who are pre-diabetic and could get to normal by losing weight, and they don't. They'll start on medication when if they lost weight, they would not need those medications. And so if you have any medical issues at all, with blood pressure, pre-diabetes, or fatigue, things like that, losing weight down to normal would be the very first and simplest treatment, basically, in quotes, treatment for that, rather than getting on medication, rather than starting the testosterone, lose weight, things like that. So I think it's an important part of anybody's health is maintaining an ideal body weight. Now, the fact is, people who are ideal body weight often look sick. You're going to say, man, this guy looks too skinny. All right. Anybody who looks healthy, in quotes, is probably overweight. All right. By the standards. And the other thing is, Asians have an even lower weight that makes them overweight. So it depends on your ethnicity somewhat, as to whether you're overweight or not. And so African Americans, Caucasians, and Asians have slightly different definitions of overweight.
Sure. Well, as you said, I mean, in the old days, really old days, being overweight, just look at Buddha type of saying, it would, or the king. I mean, that was a sign of like,
wealth.
You're doing well,
Yes.
So very, very understandable. And you said like losing weight is the simplest thing to get healthy. The problem with it probably is it's not the easiest thing.
That is correct. And that's why people often need help. Even if it's 20 pounds, if you can't do it on your own, it pays sometimes to come to see to the clinic and get some guidance. I know it's hard. You need some help. And, that's where we come in to help you, especially those last 20 pounds or so that sometimes may be the most difficult.
Yeah. So basically, you're a doctor who works in both worlds. So you will help me losing those beat 10 or 30 or 60 pounds or whatever it might be. You're pushing your patients towards doing the right thing with dieting, with exercising, with all the way to do, but you give them a hand with all the most modern medical possibilities. Looks to me, however, and correct me if I'm wrong, that ideally you would just tell people, look, don't eat 6 turkeys every day. Don't eat 4 pizzas, blah, blah, blah. But you also know that that's not happening. So people have a very hard time. So you help them with the medicine to wean them off of the overeating. And by the time you have that achieved, they kind of don't need the medicine either anymore. Is that somewhat correct?
It's somewhat correct. What I believe is that people need medicine for a longer time than they know.
Okay.
So it's not when you get down to where you want to get, you should probably continue the medication for a while. And I usually, I'm telling my staff, I really think a minimum of 1 year is the plan, and ideally 2 years, because things change, your metabolism changes, your life changes, and it's not as easy. That motivation goes away. And anything that's worth doing is very difficult to do. Anything that will make you better is often hard to do.
Absolutely.
And you need help for a long time.
Yeah. No, actually, I didn't really quite mean simultaneously, like you got the weight and you stop everything. That I, of course, I did not mean. But in the end, if once you got him down with the patient's own effort, which you push him, doing, tell him, and like a coach, most of us in most areas of life need a little bit of a coach.
Correct.
Our spouses are quite good coaches.
Yes, you know that.
And I'm lucky to just have a good one, because to be so dedicated to keep telling me every day, eat your whites, do this, it's not so easy, because sometimes we go, you told me already, don't tell me again. And if you have a coach, a spouse who keeps telling you it, or a doctor in this case, who keeps who says, all right, I got it, let's keep going. But then the medicine eventually, at least many other medicines, such as diabetes medicine and stuff, eventually they can be stopped. And overall, that can only be a good thing, right?
Correct. And we've had patients who came in on insulin, for instance, lost enough weight, got off their insulin, got off all their diabetes medications. That is very gratifying. And very often, after we've got the weight down and they're very comfortable, we just see them every few months just to reinforce what's going on. They have some modules. We reinforce everything they've learned so that they don't regress. They don't go back to where they were, to their bad habits. It's so easy to gain weight back. Even people who have gastric bypass gain their weight back after a while because they forget what they did while the surgery was really working.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, it's, the price of freedom is a constant willingness to fight back.
Are you going to give me the quote? Who said that? You?
I don't know anymore who said it. somebody said it, because
sounds good.
I'm not a good, you know, I could have been Japanese in my last lifetime. I look things up. I'm pretty good in copying things.
Okay.
Well, all right, doctor. Thank you very much.
Okay.